Richmond Webb, great player at A&M, played in the NFL and will be inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame coming up on Saturday evening. Richmond, great to see you. Thanks for your time. I know it's been a busy week. What does this mean to you?
Man, it means everything. I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Huge Cowboy fan, and like I said earlier, I played at Texas A&M and had a pretty good career there, and then went on to the Miami Dolphins and played there and had a great run there. So to come back home, I live in the Houston area now, but to come back home and be honored and be considered one of the Texas greats that ever played, not only football, but it's a Texas Sports Hall of Fame. So you're competing against the best of the best in different sports, and to be honored, it's a huge accomplishment. So I'm definitely honored.
You went from blocking for Bucky Richardson in that crew to Dan Marino. And Bucky was an option guy, used to be a linebacker. Dan Marino was the greatest passer in the history of the NFL until just recently, where people came and got him. What was the stark difference going from that power offense that was a lot of option at A&M to then being tasked with, don't let the king of Miami ever get touched?
And at A&M, we didn't throw the ball as much. Like you said, we were run dominant option. It was almost like having three running backs at times because Bucky would keep it a lot of the times. And great college quarterback, and even played for the Oilers for a few years, this and that. So going from that to throwing the football probably 80-85% of the time, and then getting to South Florida where Dan Marino was already a legend. I think he had been in the league 7-8 years by the time me and Keith Sims got there. So we had to do a total 180-degree spin, protect, the franchise quarterback, and then learn how to pass block. And, I give a ton of credit to my offensive line coach, John Sandusky. He's one of the best bigs, rest in peace now, but he was definitely instrumental in developing me and getting me ready so we could play as rookies on the blind side of the quarterback in Miami. And back in 1990, when we both came in as the number 1, number 2 pick and for the Dolphins.
So, Richmond, Paul mentioned, and you talked about your time with the Dolphins, time with A&M. How much of Dallas, Texas, and Dallas Roosevelt and those experiences coming up, how much of those stuck with you, and what are the ones that kind of stood out and helped carry you through, the other parts of your life and your career?
Yeah, I look at it now, and, it's still great college football, high school football play here in the state of Texas. I'm in Houston now, but still a Dallas guy. I think the biggest thing is that I noticed is, growing up in the inner city, the gene pool, what I mean by that, guys that played in the inner city, a lot of them live in the suburbs now. So you see all these schools that maybe not be right in the city, but because their parents live in the suburbs. So you see in Houston, Katy, Permian, schools like that. But if you go look and kind of go back, their parents probably played in HISD or whatever, the same way in Dallas. But I think the other thing different now is I can remember growing up in my neighborhood, we look forward to playing for the high school we was, so I look forward to going to Roosevelt High School, took pride in it, didn't even consider going to other schools. And, the guys that were older than me, I looked up to those guys because they played for Roosevelt and this and that. And I think it's a little different now where guys just, if it's where they can go play and they read a really good program and, they'll go play for another school. And, I understand it now, it's just different, but the level of hadn't dropped off at all. I mean, it's tremendous. You see these guys, a lot of these guys go straight out of high school and go to like a Ohio State or a D1 school like that, and are able to compete because they're great. And I think athletics just keeps evolving. I'm happy to see that.
Richmond, talk about the changes in where we are. When you were at A&M, you received initially a $25,000 scholarship from the Dallas Engineering Society but you couldn't take it. And plus, you were on a full ride at A&M, but you couldn't. You're laughing here. You couldn't take money. We know that there are stories about high school and college recruiting back in the day, but now you could take it because of the way that it is with NIL and whatever money you can earn, how much things have changed.
It's definitely changed, and I think it's a good thing. I talked with Jerry Ball, a good friend of mine. He played at SMU, and we talk about in our research, and I think the thing that I heard that they implemented at SMU is you get the money, but you got to take financial literacy course about investing, this and that. So they're not just giving them the money; they're educating them on them. And I would like to see platforms all across, at the universities, because a kid like me, when I came out of Roosevelt, I didn't know a lot about investing. I knew to kind of save my money, but maybe putting a little bit in the stock market, or maybe finding some real estate to invest in. I'm not saying you got to do everything at one time, but it's places you can put your money to start getting it to grow. And the younger you can get money for you, the better. So I would like to see that implemented. I know everybody's not going to take the advice, but at least you can say, no, we prepared you, or we introduced this to you. It was your decision and you decided not to do it. So you can't look back and say, man, they just used me for whatever it's got. So I would like to see an educational platform put in at different universities, because a lot of them, they get, the money is substantial, and it could make a huge difference. Even if you don't play professional football, it's enough now to where they're paying a lot of these guys. If you're really good, you can be pretty much set for life, or you can really help your family, but you want to do it the right way, get the money working for you, and then you can help some people. So that's what I'd love to see.
Richmond, you played against a lot of great defensive linemen. Which one would you never have wanted to face again after the first time?
I ain't gonna say never. I think the toughest guy I played against for sure was Bruce Smith, and I would see twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. I think the way I approached it is, once you play against the best, you want to play against the best, because that's going to make you come with your best game. So I always looked forward to the challenge. I know it was not easy. And Bruce Smith was a guy, everybody talks about the sack records, but he's got over 200 sacks. But I think the thing that made it so tough was he was just as tough as against the run as he was against the pass. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They just say he's the all-time NFL sack leader. But when you got to watch film and you got to study this guy, and he's gonna play like hell for 60 minutes, and he's a guy that played all 3 downs. He wasn't just a pass rusher. That's what I kind of look forward to, because that was a measuring stick. Say, okay, if I can play against a guy like this, not this going to be easy, but if I can match up with him, I've got a pretty good shot against other people. But I know it wasn't going to be an easy task, so I always look forward to matchups like that.
You played a violent sport, and you played in 118 consecutive games as a starter, which is a record, the Dolphins record, and eventually your body just wears down. You're a big man, but you're playing in the trenches. That's an amazing streak, Richmond. How many times during that 118 games could you have just said, no, I can't do it today?
Yeah, everybody talks about the streak, and I think I just heard where a quarterback had played 200 some games. I just can't remember. But I think the thing with the streak is, and even when I was with the Dolphins, I didn't really find out about the streak until I got close to breaking whoever had the streak before me. So I think that's a great thing, because you don't need to start focusing on this. That's a distraction for me. And I remember it was like a game or two, and they said, "Oh, you got a chance to break the streak." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I just tried to say, make it through this game. My body is sore. Let me get through Monday and Tuesday, because Wednesday is going to start back up, and start preparing for the next opponent or the next game we had to play and this and that, but never really focused on the record or the streak. And I think that's with any player. If you keep mentioning it to them, I think it'll be more detrimental to them than, you know, them focusing on what they need to focus on. So I'm glad they didn't. I try to say, hey, I got some nicks and bruises. Let me try to get ready, so I'll be ready to go again on Sunday.
What was it like when Jimmy Johnson showed up as the head coach of the Dolphins?
Well, it was different. You know, I got drafted by, you know, Hall of Fame coach Don Shula, tremendous respect. So I knew about, you know, Jimmy Johnson, you know, what he had did with the Cowboys and stuff like that. So when he came to Miami, one of my former teammates, Kevin Smith, played for Jimmy at Dallas, and he won 3 Super Bowls with the Cowboys. And I called him and said, hey, man, what's up? What I need to do? You know, this and that. Is anything I need to know? And he said, no. He said, you don't have any problems. He said, as long as you work hard. He said, you're not a guy that's going to give him problems. So he said, as long as you just work hard and practice, you consistent, you're not going to have any issues. He was a tough coach, very smart coach. I mean, knew the game and prepared for something as well. It was a little different than Coach Shula, but another great coach. So I didn't have any problems with him. I just know I had to work hard, but I was used to that already. So I made the transition pretty easily.
1990s all-decade team in the NFL. Of course, first-round pick, you mentioned that, and also all of what you did. I mentioned to start off the interview what this means. How emotional will Richmond Webb be Saturday evening when it's your time to talk in front of all those people?
I think I'll be emotional. I think the thing, you know, that I'm most appreciative of is I understand that this is a team sport. And even when, you know, I got accolades, I was with the Dolphins or whatever, I never forget about my teammates because, you know, that's what I play for. I never played to say, well, I need to get here. I need to get here. I just never wanted to be the weak link. And so that's how I approached the game. And the good thing, I have to be very vocal because when I was in college, normally the quarterback does the talking. So that was either Bucky Richardson, and then when I got to Miami, it was Marino. So I'll speak and, you know, thank the committee, you know, definitely thank God for allowing me to put me in this position. You know, my family, my support system, my teammates, everybody that played part in this. You know, I tell people all the time, you don't get anywhere by yourself. I've had a lot of help along the way, whether it was teachers, coaches, name it, just getting good advice and people helping me keep my head on straight and encouraging me to do the right things and keep working hard and doing this and that. So I got to give gratitude to them, but I'm definitely honored to receive this award. But man, I've had a lot of help along the way, and I'm not bashful, or I'm not, you know, that type of guy that says, you know, I did this all by myself, because I know I didn't. But it's a lot of people that's happy for me and proud of me. So that gives me a good feeling down inside. I did some things right.
Thank you, man. Congratulations. We'll see you Saturday. Thanks for your time today. Much deserved of what you've done, earned what you've done to be a part of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Richmond Webb. Roosevelt High School. He had 2 teammates, Aaron Wallace and Kevin Williams, both really good football players that went to school with him at Roosevelt High School in Dallas.